Are you freaking kidding me? That is the coolest intro. Kevin, play it again. Play it again.
Play it again, Kevin. Play it again.
Hit it again, Kev.
How many fucking times? I'm not prepared for that shit.
People.
That's really cool.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Carter,
Nick, you could never make something that cool.
It's true, actually.
They nailed you, Nick. They nailed you.
Did the audio, and as always, just absolutely crushed it. And then Cameron Kennedy coming in with the visual style that I'm just like, oh, unmatched. He on Twitter, he posted some behind the scenes pictures of like his hand drawn, the little car going away and all that stuff. Like,
That's
look
awesome.
at the hand drawn.
That's
So
really
That's
cool.
so cool.
You'll love to see
And
it.
now
ladies
will
and
be
gentlemen.
appreciated by 11,000 people.
Yes, yes. This is kind of funny. He's Edgar Wright in review. How exciting is that? As always, I'm Tim Gettys, joined by the big dog, Kevin Coelho.
I'm tired.
The slightly smaller dog, Andy Cortez.
Same, Kev.
Yeah. The even smaller somehow dog, Nick Scarpino.
I'm jacked up on Mountain Dew. I don't care if you guys are tired. I'm ready to go. Let's talk about this movie. Who?
And the biggest dog of them all, Greg Miller.
Do I need to lead us all in a little shakeout exercise, some aerobics here? You want to get in a couple
How about-
jumping
Stop
jacks, Nick?
trying to
Is
be
that
Snowbike
how we're
Mike.
gonna get it?
You're
I
never
thought you were
gonna
gonna
be
lead us
Snowbike
in
Mike.
in a rousing chorus of Yub Nub.
Yub nub.
Speak up.
To let you all. The best thing about Ewoks, right, is that these fuckers don't even know what they're saying. You know what I mean? They don't
Miller.
understand. Yeah.
Greg Miller, I want to issue you a challenge to issue Mike Drucker. I want you to call Mike Drucker right now and ask him if he knows the words to Yub Nub. Not just
Or
the Yub
what-
Nub part, but a little bit further.
Just a verse of it. Sure.
I'll
Okay.
follow up with that.
Yeah.
I want to know if he knows what Yub Nub means
It's-
in Ewok.
Can you imagine
I'm
how
sure
funny
it
it would
means
be to be like, all right, cool. I can't wait for them to talk about Shaun of the Dead. Turn this on, fucking for no reason at all,
people
because
are
they
really
don't know
showing
the
up here. They're really
backstory.
showing up here. Hey, Mike Drucker, you're live on In Review, the Shaun of the Dead. How are you?
Good. How's it going?
It's great. You're coming on the Kind of Funny podcast at the end of the month. We're very excited to see you. Are you excited to come do it?
I'm very excited to come do it. I miss you guys.
We miss you too. And that's why when I sang a part of the Yub Nub song, the Ewok celebration here on the show, I was immediately challenged to call you and ask two questions. Number one, do you know the actual words to the Yub Nub song?
Answer is no.
Okay. And then number two, do you know the translation to Yub Nub? Is that it?
Yeah, that was it.
I both don't know the Ewok lyrics nor the translation of the Ewok lyrics.
Follow up so he
Well,
does not
My
speak
Alexa's
Ewok.
going off now. Alexa, stop.
All right. All right, then we'll see at the end of the month. maybe learn the words by then. That's all I'm saying. I don't know if we need it or not.
I will try to get a gist of a summary of what the song is.
All right. And then also, I guess before you go, what did you think of Shaun of the Dead?
I love Shaun of the Dead. Love it.
Perfect. Great. Okay, cool. We'll talk to you later. Love you.
Talk to you later. Love
Bye.
you.
I want to mention that the reason why Yub Nub is on the brain is because Greg brought it up because Twitter deleted Trump's account and it became this whole thing. So they just started talking about Yub Nub nonstop, and then they were linking the song back and forth. Nick and Greg are saying it to everybody, and you got to understand that this will be a reoccurring theme for the rest of these 2 hours or however long this takes. This will come up again.
My prediction is
Prepare
we'll never
yourself.
talk about it ever again.
Here's we are recording live, of course. If you are a patron on patreon.com/kindoffunny, you can watch us record the show live. I have the chat open. I'm putting in right now. Does Yub Nub slap Y/N? We need to see Y's and N's thrown up so we know. Because I say yes, Nick says yes. And Nick didn't initially say yes. Now he does.
It's one of those things that it's and this is one of the reasons why I feel so blessed being a part of this company, right? It's because you guys really do expose me to all these new ideas and these new concepts, and they're very important in my life. Specifically, I woke up today, Andy, thinking that Yub Nub does not slap. Tim, did I say Yub Nub does not slap? And then Greg
Not say that.
and then after literally, maybe it's perhaps I've never listened to it out of context of the scene before.
Mhm.
Maybe it's the fact that George Lucas hates it and replaced it with something else in the later iterations of Return of the Jedi. But dude, this thing, yes,
It's just some laughing to begin, Andy. Look at that whistles.
God damn Damn.
Oh, that's coming. It's coming. Wait for it.
But
They
like
to
the
build up.
beat,
There it is. There it is.
there it is. Drop it. You can just hear people dropping, right? Andy, you're in a hot club. This starts playing. It's 2:00 in the morning. You're like, who am I going home with? Answer, everyone.
There it is.
Yep,
I'm
no.
telling you, that's a song right there, and the chat agrees with me. So far, only J6 is saying J6 Kooks is saying no. Everybody else is saying yes. Everybody else is all in on this.
This
And
is
then DJ Kento says in all caps, "This goes hard." Sorry, back to you, Tim.
Kind of Funny's Edgar Wright in review. We will be ranking and reviewing the Edgar Wright movies. You can watch the show live as we record it by going to patreon.com/kindoffunny. 2 reviews a week. Now we're doing Edgar Wright and John Wick. Very exciting stuff. You could also watch the show later on youtube.com/kindoffunny or search Kind of Funny Reviews in your favorite podcast service for it to be delivered right into your ear holes. We are brought to you by Gabby and Green Chef, but we'll talk to you about that later because we got to get into it, guys. Today, we're talking about Shaun of the Dead, originally titled Tea Time of the Dead.
No, they did better. I'm glad they got away from that.
They nailed it.
Released on March 29th, 2004. Directed by Edgar Wright, an English director, screenwriter, and producer known for his fast-paced and kinetic satirical genre films, which feature extensive utilization of expressive popular music, Steadicam tracking shots, dolly zooms, and a signature editing style that includes transitions, whip pans, and wipes. Budget of $6.1 million, a box office of $30 million. It was met with universal critical and commercial acclaim, receiving 2 nominations at the British Academy Film Awards. It was ranked 3rd on the Channel 4 list of the 50 greatest comedy films of all time and quickly acquired a cult following. A runtime of 1 hour and 39 minutes. Greg Miller.
Yeah, buddy.
This movie seems so up your alley. What is your story with Shaun of the Dead?
Shaun of the Dead is a movie that made me kind of thing, for sure. As you know, I make no bones about it. Zombies are my favorite like horror movie, and I like horror movies, but I love zombie movies. And so, you know, when growing up, and I'm using that loosely, but when I got the PS2, right, and I could start buying DVDs, I was buying everything I could, zombie, everything I could, Romero, just, you know, going back and loving Dawn of the Dead, loving, not Living Dead, obviously, but Dawn of the Dead was my favorite, and just consuming that nonstop. And I will never forget being in Columbia, Missouri, you know, going to school in 2004 and hearing, you know, on the internet, this thing, Shaun of the Dead. And it was this British zombie movie, obviously the name alone, you know, a pun on Dawn of the Dead. And even the trailer used some, and the movie does too, obviously, but the trailer used, you know, some of the Romero music that are, you know, you think of for Dawn of the Dead. And I was so fucking stoked. And it finally came to what the Stadium 20 or whatever the hell it is in Columbia. I remember going there on an early afternoon with my ex, sat down, the lights came up, and it was then I realized, and again, granted, 2004 is a bit more sheltered, but it was then I realized I haven't seen a contemporary English movie or TV, because the first 15 to 20 minutes on my first viewing of this movie, it was like they were speaking another language because they were talking so quickly, and it's full on British accent. And I had grown up watching, you know, Monty Python stuff and Monty Python movies and things like that. But even then I felt like they had a different cadence of speak, whereas this was a British movie made for a worldwide audience, but also not pulling punches, I think, for, you know, Americans or whatever. So it took me so long to get going and understand what was going on. And then once I did, obviously I fell in love, and it was a DVD I bought immediately. And it became when, you know, the Antler House would be done, when the party would be done, and we would order Gumbies and just devour it in my room. This is the DVD we threw on. And so, like, this is one of those DVDs that I know front and back, that I went in and, like, I don't know how much of this you have in your notes or whatever. I went and watched not the deleted scenes, but the expanded tales. They did a thing on the DVD where they filled in plot holes of, like, when Shaun went away with the zombies, what did that look like? What happened to Diane after she went through the window? Like, all this fucking shit. And I like all that crap, and how they got Ed back and all that. I was all about this movie. In the same way I think I love Kevin Smith, this is one that made me love Edgar Wright, even though I didn't fully get that at the time. You know what I mean? I loved Simon Pegg. I loved Nick Frost. I loved that buddy relationship they had on screen.
Andy Cortez, what about you?
I think it's one of those movies that had to have just influenced anybody aspiring to make movies, or made people just want to make movies that they didn't even know they wanted to make movies. Like, I think it introduced a level of creativity that I had never seen in a movie before, I was about 15 years old when this movie came out, and up until then, I didn't really realize that editing in a movie could be its own star. And like, I just didn't, obviously, like, you watch movies and you understand that the story could be the strong point of the movie, or the acting, or the characters, but editing and stuff like that, it had never occurred to me that that could be something that really shines in a movie, because I just didn't know. And Edgar Wright kind of brought that out, and I it was so unexpected, and I fell in love with it. And like, this movie's just great. It's just an all-time favorite.
Yeah.
It's so clever, it's so creative, it's so stylish. And yeah, I mean, there's not much more great things I could say about it. It's just one of those movies that will go down as one of the best movies I've ever seen.
Kev, what about you?
So I mean, obviously this movie is goddamn magical. Like, I don't remember when the first time that I actually watched it, or like, it's always been around. One of those movies that, like, when I want to have a good time, like, I probably watch it once every 2 years, something like that. But it wasn't until 6 years ago, like, I actually like found out why it's so good. Where it's there's a YouTube channel called Every Frame of Painting. He did a whole episode on Edgar Wright, and one of the things that, like, he talks about is how his editing changes over time, and it's like sitting there and actually getting the movie dissected in front of you, where you're like, oh shit, okay, like, I didn't think about why it's so magical. And then, like, every time since I've seen it, every time since then, I like try to notice different details in the editing and stuff like that, and it is just a blast to watch every time.
Nick.
Oh yeah, I mean, like, there's no surprise here. This movie is great. I remember seeing this in the theaters, and just it's one of those movies where you just become an instant fan of everyone that's involved. And I remember I really didn't know who Simon Pegg was and Nick Frost, because we didn't get. I think they did The Office, right?
Space.
Oh, Space, not The Office. That was Ricky Gervais to The Office. They did Space. We didn't get that. I didn't know what that was. And so, it's one of those things where you can tell this group had been working together for a while. They knew each other. Like, they had that, like, cadence of like, we've been doing great work, but then to be able to see the first thing they do, or excuse me, to be able to see this movie as the first thing they do, as the first representation of their style and their just overall, like, presence together on screen. And I was just blown away. And I was like, I love Nick Frost. I love Simon Pegg. This Edgar Wright guy really knows how to direct a movie. I can't wait to see what they do next. And, like, I've been a fan of these guys since 2004.
Yeah, for me, I was just a little younger than Andy there, so it was like that perfect kind of in between middle school, high school time where you're coming into your own and kind of being able to make your own choices of what music you listen to, what movies you watch, all that stuff. And that was primetime internet, burgeoning forums and all that stuff. And I just remember kind of going through and looking for like, just Google searching, like, best hip hop albums of all time, best comedies of all time, just kind of educating myself on all the things that I had missed. And looking for, being a fan of comedy, I was like, I want to know, like, what are the best comedy movies? Like, what do I need to watch? That's when I first watched a lot of the 80s comedy movies. I'm super blanking on
Caddyshack, Ghostbusters, things like that.
Well, that type of stuff. Yeah. And the Candles, 16 Candles. That's what I was thinking of.
Sean Hughes movies, yeah.
Yeah. And this was one of those movies that, like, it felt pretentious. It was like all the people, everyone's like, you gotta watch Shaun of the Dead. It's the funniest thing. And, like, it felt like that weird indie thing of, like, it was out of reach. Like, it felt like hard to obtain and, like, be able to actually watch it. It was a different time too, like, where you couldn't just turn on Netflix and watch things. But I remember that Alfredo actually got a copy somehow burned on a disc, because that's how things happened back then. And we watched it, and I never felt stupider, where I was like, this is cool, and I like the editing, but, like, I don't get it. It's not funny at all. Like, I don't find this movie funny. And God, I was a dumb kid, because every time I've watched it since, it just gets better and better and better. And this was actually the first time I watched it with subtitles. And really knowing every single thing they're saying, I was like, God damn, this movie is so clever. And so the zombie idea of it all is so overdone at this point, but somehow, like, Shaun of the Dead stands more relevant and is just still so damn cheeky and so damn, like when you look
so
at it all,
Nando.
like, so damn Nando, man.
So damn Nando.
But I love that when we're talking about the editing and we're talking about being able to watch it and notice different things, like the amount of dialogue that they end up actually doing in the movie, or like every single line comes back somehow to like
Yeah.
reference something else.
Right.
It almost is too perfect, but it doesn't cross that line of being too perfect. So it actually feels
that's the thing about
rough
it.
on the edges and nice.
The way they use it is so brilliant. I remember, being I think, you talk about Ghostbusters or something I watched over and over and over again as a kid, right? Having this in the DVD player, right? And then if it wasn't this, it was usually Wet Hot American Summer. Like,
Great film.
exactly. It was that this one in particular, and granted, again, I'm a dumb college kid. It was like having a secret code. It was showing your friends this thing and being like, no, but like, watch, like, this morning is going to be replicated tomorrow in the exact same thing, almost movement for movement, but everyone's going to be a zombie, right? Or him meeting Yvonne, right? And how are you surviving, right? And how different that is at the end, or at least somebody made it, right? That line she throws out that in the beginning's about their relationship, but at the end is about zombies. Yeah, Nick.
Did they ever do anything in the comics or like any side stories about that other group?
Not to my knowledge.
Yeah, not that I know either. But when Shaun, Liz, David, Diane, Barbara, and Ed run into the alternative gang as they make their way to the Winchester, there are quite a few comedy partnerships brought together again. Simon Pegg and Jessica Hines, who were Tim and Daisy from Spaced, Lucy Davis and Martin Freeman, Don and Tim from The Office, the original Office, Dylan Moran and Tamsin Grigg, who were Bernard and Fran from Black Books, Julia Deakin and Nick Frost are from Spaced as well, and Marsha and Mike, respectively. It's cool as shit.
That's awesome. I mean, it's so funny because back then I didn't really have context for who any of these people were.
Of
but
course.
Now I recognize a lot of people in those other groups from just being from various things that I've seen. I think most notably, and it's going to be a weird pull, but the last guy is now one of the comedic hosts on the Great British Bake Off, and he was also in Bridesmaids. I believe that's the actor. He was the guy that played Rebel Wilson's like brother in Bridesmaids. And I'm like, my God, that guy's been around forever. That's so cool. I could be wrong about that also because he had a wig on, I think, or he had hair back then. I'm not quite sure.
Are you talking? Wait, the last guy.
So like, how the Nick Frost lookalike
the other side,
the other side.
Right?
He is, I think, the guy who is from Bridesmaids, who was like the weird roommates in Bridesmaids, where it was like the two of them.
The guy from the Great British Bake Off is the guy from the Mighty Boosh.
I don't know what that means, but let's explore
Greg.
that internet.
Yeah, the old Greg. What Noel Fielding? I don't think that was Noel Fielding.
No. You're thinking Noel Fielding. See, you haven't watched the newest season. Noel Fielding.
You're talking about Matt
has
Lucas.
been on. Yes, Matt.
And
Lucas,
he is Gil in Bridesmaids.
Yeah, he's the new host
Nick
because the
Scarpino
other comic host left. Yeah, but he's that guy's hilarious.
Noel Fielding's gone from British Bake Off.
No. Noel Fielding's there. His counterpart left. I forget her name. She's another. They brought in this guy to be her. And to be honest, I don't love their chemistry. I wish they'd bring her back, but whatever.
Yeah.
I digress.
So I got a whole bunch of facts, and I just want to read a couple of them to start this off because I just think it's so freaking cool. One fun thing is Simon Pegg and Edgar Wright considered a sequel that would replace zombies with another monster, but decided against it.
Vampires.
Originally, the proposed title was From Dusk Till Shaun.
That's good.
God,
I would
so
love
good.
that.
Do
And
that.
the fact that his name is first and then end at the end in the titles.
And then it's that there's a poster for From Dusk Till Shaun in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Oh, nice.
Really.
like
really
it happened
cool.
in the other verse. That's cool.
Yeah. And then some fun facts here. Shaun tells Liz that he's going to take her to, quote, the place that does all the fish. When he opens the phone book, you can see the restaurant's literally called the place that does all the fish. Love that.
That's
That's like their tagline, right? Yeah.
Almost all the bit part characters that we see throughout the movie are later seen as zombies.
Yep.
Near the beginning of the movie, when Ed's playing PS2, Shaun directs him top left, reload, good shot, whatever. When the gang are in the Winchester pub and Shaun's firing at zombies, Ed repeats exactly what Shaun instructed him to do during Time Splitters 2. Never forget. When Pete is ranting at Ed for keeping him awake with his electro music, he drops the line, "You want to live like an animal? Go live in the shed, you thick fuck." And then obviously that's what ends up happening. Good shit, Kev. There we go. Yeah.
There's another line that popped out that I never noticed before, and I was never a huge Dawn of the Dead fan, and I was never a huge zombie fan probably until this, and then subsequently like The Walking Dead. But there's a moment where I'm like, wait a minute, did they just name his mom Barbara so they could have the one line, "We're coming
Just to get
for
the
you,
Night of
Barbara"?
Living Dead. Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
We're coming to get you, Barbara.
We're coming to get you, Barbara. It's so good.
So good.
If you
And then
don't know, that's obviously in Night of the Living Dead, a famous line
Dude,
of
like-
when the brother, "They're coming to get you, Barbara," when they're walking around the graveyard and that guy's immediately.
The last fact I have here for you is Nick Frost allegedly kept his genitals shaved throughout the production to create a genuine need to scratch that the character demanded.
That's
Genius.
that's horrible.
Genius.
So method.
God, that's so horrible.
Method.
I wish we were brought to you by Manscaped for that ad segue, but unfortunately we're not today. But anyways, let's get to the plot.
Hit it, Andy.
Hold on. I'm hanging with Tim, Nick, Kevin, and Greggy. Hit me with the plot right now. Hit me with the plot right, cause I'm having a good time. It's in review
okay,
time.
Shooting star.
I don't have the rest. Yeah.
No,
all I
you don't
got.
need more. That was great. That was
know where we
fantastic.
were at. I didn't know where we were on that one, but we got
Also
there.
worth pointing out that, yeah, and I know, again, dumb kid or whatever, but this is the one that made me a Queen fan. Like, I did go and buy Queen's Greatest Hits after that CD after watching Shaun of the Dead and falling in love with it and watching the DVD and stuff. Welcome to Shaun of the Dead, everybody. Set in lovely old England. Oi, governor. Of course, as we all know, Shaun is a fucking loser, as Pete will call him later, more of a loser than you are. And so we open the movie at the Winchester, of course, the pub they always end up at, where Shaun and Liz are having a tiff. Not a full-blown fight yet, but of course, Liz is kind of laying into Shaun as he's not listening about how they can't keep doing this, right? They always end up at the Winchester. What?
What a genius scene too. And talk about editing. Kevin was talking about the editing in the scene, or just in the movie in general earlier. And I totally forgot how this movie started because I don't think I've seen it in like 10 years. But the fact that they're talking about all of their friends
Who are
and then
there.
the camera cuts and it's them, and like he's there, and then it cuts and the other two friends are there, and she's like,
Yeah.
"You called him a prick or whatever it was."
Oh, that's the
It's
next, but that's even better. Yeah.
so funny.
Yeah, of course. So yeah, as they go through here, of course, Liz is very much like, it's not that I don't love you, Ed. All right, whatever. And it's not, and then of course the conversation, as we were talking about that, when it exacerbates things. What does that mean? Another great line, obviously, and a great word to learn.
What does that mean? It means no. What does exacerbate mean?
Yeah, exactly. But basically, it's a war of escalation. They go to the same pub every night. So of course, Shaun brings his friends, they bring their friends, and they don't all get along. They don't get quality romantic time. Shaun, of course, in a last ditch effort, says, hey, let's do something tomorrow. We can do something special. The place that does all the fish. Then we go home. We actually get the intro. Another song that slaps. That's a yub nub of this.
It is the yum nub of
It is.
Shaun of the Dead.
And you also, though, of course, get a look at all the people who will become the zombies throughout the thing, right? We get Noelle there checking groceries. We get the people standing at the bus stop staring ahead. You get introduced to people who are already zombies in their everyday life, right? That will now become the zombies of our very zombie movie. From there, then it's Shaun waking up, coming out, stomping around like a zombie, but no, he's at home. He comes in, sits next to Ed, who of course is playing Time Splitters, as we already pointed out. They go through the whole video game talk. Don't you have to go to work though? Shaun gets up, gets ready for work, then runs into their roommate Pete in the kitchen, who is basically like, get the fuck. He's got to get out of here. He sucks. You know what I mean? He's his house guest. When's he going home? They make the reference to playing Tekken 2 and playing and drinking apple schnapps, right? Obviously, they're in different places in their life. As Shaun 29 now, right? They're all in that weird space of after graduating college, not full-blown adulthood yet, no one having relationships that are, or trying to start relationships, but still in that weird place of being boys to men kind of situations. Of course, Nick Frost's character Ed very much in the I will just live on the couch and drink beer and get loaded all the time and play video games and do that. So Pete's not happy with the situation in any way, shape, or form. They come out, they have a conversation with Ed, of course, about writing down the messages, not just your own little scrap of paper. How hard can that be? He can do it. He's just yeah. When Pete puts on his jacket and turns around, of course, there's I am a prick on his thing. Come on, it was pretty funny. They have the conversation here, right, of like all these different things get this done, do that thing for me. Shaun leaves with the phone ringing or whatever. Then I think I got it right, but it doesn't matter. He goes out. This is what I was talking about, the scene that'll be replicated for tomorrow. Him leaving the house, the boy kicks the soccer ball by him. He gives change to the homeless guy who's always there. There's a dude washing his car. There's a guy jogging. There's the pizza guy who looks at him.
Before he leaves, we have the fart joke. We have the
the fart joke's
sorry.
so good.
Yeah.
So
good.
No, really, I'm sorry.
I'll
stop doing it when you stop laughing.
I do want to give a shout out to the guy that plays Pete, whose name is Peter in real life. Peter Serafinowicz.
What action movie is he in?
He's from The Tick, which Kevin and I loved on Amazon.
Good.
He played The Tick.
He was also in Guardians of the Galaxy, making his second appearance here on In Review.
There we go.
I was going to give him a shout out. He played Aldo in the movie Spy, starring Melissa McCarthy, and he's really funny in that.
You need to be stopped, Nick. You need to be stopped.
What's great, and this is a great one to stop because I'm going through it at a clip here, of course, because it's a comedy, which is always hard to recap and weird to recap. But this is such a great thing, I think, especially when you see Shaun and Ed work together versus Shaun and Pete talk together, right? Where Shaun is in this weird spot, right? And it's what. Sorry, I'm burping in the microphone. His stepdad will bring up eventually, right? Of like, he can do great things. He lacks motivation. He needs to look up to somebody. He needs to be kicked in the ass pretty much. And so he's in this weird stuck between where he's kind of an adult. He's not. He's like, what? He's the oldest member at the electronics shop.
He's like, how old are you? The guy's like 17. He's like, oh no.
But yeah, then he comes out and he wants to, play video games and just hang out and drink and do all this other stuff. But then he also wants this thing with Liz, and it's this weird, not midlife crisis, but late 20s crisis. I digress. Goes over to Nelson's shop. This is our first glimpse at. There's, the newspapers there talking about some of the stuff that's going on and all this weird shit that's happening. Nelson interrupts. He buys the soda. There's a guy who's, looks like he's dressed for a wedding back there who will be one of the star zombies later on too. Shaun fucks off to work. As we said, everybody's, he's the oldest person there. He's got to run the thing. There's a reference here to Ash, which is their nod to Evil Dead Ash. He's sick. So it's all on Shaun. The one kid who's 17, of course, and this is again what we're talking about. Shaun's 29. He has the same job as a 17-year-old I don't have it in front of me right now.
He's in something I know. It's killing
he
me.
loses a bunch of weight, and becomes
he's in Hot Fuzz.
No,
he
loses
loses
something else though.
He's like the leading man in it. He's like the love attraction in it.
Good for him. You know what? Let's just say he was in Black Mirror, because a lot of actors that show up in Black Mirror, I'm like, oh, I know you.
Good point. That's a great point.
It's like saying
actually,
you did a stint on Law and Order. You're like, every actor did a stint on Law and Order at some point.
He was in Big Short. He was in Life of Pi. I'm throwing it up here. Not seeing
know
Black
him as
Mirror,
an
but it does feel
older
Black Mirror. You're right though. I do remember in Black Mirror. I feel like now doesn't matter. Whatever. He's Noel, actually. Anyways, yeah, they have this whole conversation about keeping your work life separate because obviously he answers the phone to her. Oh, hi, mate. Like, you know what I mean? But throughout the day, Shaun's there. He's working with some customers. This is when they're flipping through all the different TV channels. Again, this movie is, I used it for Back to the Future. Back to the Future being a perfect movie. I wouldn't go as far as say this is a perfect movie, but for me as a viewer, it was the first time, and it's again with multiple viewings of it, that I ever really caught on like the way they peppered in the before and after and reflect them, right? Because he's going through and he flips by a channel that's the music thing that Coldplay will be in at the end. He talks about Trisha, the talk show, that at the end it'll be the woman who sleeps with her husband who's still a zombie. Then he goes through all the news channels, and that's when we see the news channels doing the exact same stuff, even getting a woman with a baby on her talking about a guy stumbling out.
And just the way the dialogue is changing between each channel.
Right.
Eating their brains, and like it's going between different. It's so.
Well, that's coming up, but yeah, this one is just setting up the channels or whatever. And yeah, he's trying to sell them on the digital package, and just as he starts to notice something's going on and this news is out of the area, the Noel comes and interrupts again. Yes, Kevin.
That guy is in fact in Black Mirror. White Christmas.
I'm trying to remember what episode he is, right?
White Christmas.
Yeah. Right, he's the one with John Hamm. That's a great episode.
Yeah.
Okay.
What
John
a
Hamm.
fucking
One of the rare ones
episode.
I've seen.
In Baby Driver.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Are these in a shared universe connected?
Oh my
Wow.
God! Wow, John Hamm also in the White Hot American Summer TV show on Netflix. Wow.
One thing I
Yeah.
also
He was
One
so
thing I
funny.
also
Yo,
didn't
yo,
notice.
But Greg,
one
you
thing I
already
didn't
killed
notice
like
pulling
3 of my
down this-
friends.
Oh, sorry. I'm talking
Listen.
about everybody.
Listen.
I could sit here and talk to you. I could give you an answer. I know it's not going to be satisfactory, so I'm just going to go.
One thing I noticed in this IMDb cast list,
Here we go.
you made mention to Coldplay. Chris Martin from Coldplay is in this fucking movie.
Yeah.
He's a zombie.
yeah.
outside
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Well, no, not even that. He's
on the
himself.
newsreel. Yeah.
They do Zombade
himself.
at the end. He's one of the guys on Zombade. Yeah.
He has a cameo as himself on a newscast at the end of it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. He's also it says zombie outside of Winchester is another
That's cool.
character.
They must have
That I
known
don't
him,
know.
right?
Yeah.
Edgar Wright must have
I
known him
forget it.
before
I've
that.
watched it obviously years ago with the commentary. I forget what the connect was to get him into it or whatever. Doesn't matter.
That's amazing.
Noel interrupts Shaun to tell him his dad's here. He's not my dad. He's my stepdad. It's Philip. We walk over and talk to him. Of course, you know Philip from Love Actually. He's a very famous British actor, but I only know him from Love Actually. So whenever I see him, he's from Shaun of the Dead and Love
Bill
Actually.
His
Nye?
name's Bill Nye, right?
Yes.
I'm
do
talking
love
about the
him.
guy from Love Actually and Shaun of the Dead, actually.
Yes, that's Bill Nye.
My
He's not a
mind,
science guy.
But it's
My mind
different,
just
right?
go-
It's
my
pronounced
mind
differently.
just goes to
Naive, I think is how you pronounce it.
my mind goes to Elise Willems doing her her impersonation of what's the actress in Love Actually?
Keira
Keira
Knightley.
Knightley. But you can't have love actually. She does like the underbite. It's perfect. It's perfect. You have to watch at least do it.
That's really
Don't let me
bad.
tamper your. Don't let me
Yours
ruin
was
your
really
experience.
bad.
Yeah,
You did a really
really
bad
bad.
version. I
But
feel
you
like that was the
can't
Greg
have
worst.
Miller,
love.
call Elise Williams.
Can you call Elise Williams? While I explain to everyone why Belai is an amazing actor. We
Sure.
all love him. I love him from Love Actually. I love him from that About Time that we watched, Kevin. I think we watched that on one
Yeah,
of
it's good.
the last
It's
screencasts.
good.
He's a phenomenal actor. And if you're
Screencast.
sleeping on the Underworld series, you're sleeping on Bill Nye. That's all I'm saying.
Greg,
Wait, the Underworld movie,
please
like the
ask her-
zombies and the werewolves?
The vampire
Everybody
one.
quiet.
He
Remember,
was
they
in
can't
that
hear you,
too.
so like it cuts it off if it gets in the way.
Ask her to sing Yub Nub as your second question.
Hello?
Barbara Dunkelman, it's me, Greg Miller from Kind of Funny. How are you?
Fucking guy.
What's up, dude?
Nothing. You're coming on the Kind of Funny podcast this month, and we're super excited. Are you excited?
I'm the most excited.
I don't know if I said it. You're live on in a review. Sorry, like, that's also happening. That's why I'm in like broadcast voice. They wanted me to call Elise Williams, but I don't have her number, so I just called you because you're my favorite.
I mean, we are very, interchangeable.
Because no, it's not that. But remember in the Kind of Funny best friend
was
tournament, like that
backfired
you
already.
guys went and fought each other. I
Already
didn't like that
backfired.
one bit. You know,
We did.
that
No,
was
I
not
didn't
cool.
like that either.
I didn't like that
I
either.
was okay with it though, because that way I could ensure that she wins by forcing people to go first.
That's fair enough, I guess too. While I have you, can you conference in Elise Williams?
Let me figure out.
I think you just you hit add call and then you can call her. Like I don't have her number. I would do it otherwise. You know.
It's like she probably just
This
got
is
off work.
great.
She's probably just wanting to
Bad
cook
call.
dinner and not do anything.
There you go.
See?
I think you might talk to her on your own and then you have to like merge them. But I'll
Dude,
be
this
here.
is bugging
I
me
was
so
already
much.
calling her. She didn't answer.
Hold, please.
Okay, we'll hold.
Let's
We'll hold.
see
Don't
this
worry.
Oh my god, if she answers for Barb and not Andy, that's hilarious.
I love it. God, can
That's
you imagine?
hilarious.
That is really
She
funny.
sucks so
Don't
bad,
answer.
Andy. She sucks so bad.
It hasn't even happened yet, Nick. Give it a
I
second.
don't care.
Just mercy.
He knows.
All right,
he
so
knows.
I got her voicemail.
Damn. All right, fine.
She's probably dead.
That sucks.
Yub
What do you
Nub.
got?
Possible she's recording.
Well, no. I mean, like if she was recording, she would just answer. Look, I'm calling people in the middle of recording. It's easy.
It's really
You know, it's just simple to do. All right, Barb. We'll see you at the end of the month. We love you.
The rich.
All right, I love you.
Bye.
The rich.
Shaun of the Dead.
So Philip's in there, and you know he very standoffish here. We know he's a stepdad. He reminds Shaun, of course, please, bring the posies or bring flowers, not just some corner store posies like you forgot to bring on Mother's Day. He's obviously reminding him to do this. Shaun is not having it. Shaun is pissed off of this conversation's even existing. But you can also tell that Shaun's a fuck up and has forgotten and fucked up these mother visits quite a bit. You bi-monthly visit. I can't do a good Bill Nye impression. He leaves, and then Noelle immediately is on Shaun, giving him shit like, "This ain't a social gathering." He's like, "Why can't Why can you have your dad show up and I can't take phone calls?" And he's like, "It's not that, Well, I unlike you, I don't find it hard to separate my work and social life." At which point the phone rings. Obviously, not obviously, but you've seen the film. And another employee says, "It's Liz on the phone." He takes the phone. Of course, I should have mentioned when we were leaving, Liz left a message of they needed to push the dinner, the place that all the fish. We here though, same thing happens. She calls him at work to make sure he got the message, to make sure he knows when he makes his reservation to push it. Shaun, of course, trying not to look weak in front of this kid because he cares for some reason, but this is all he's got. He's like, yeah, blah, yeah, blah. Just Liz from home office, nothing to worry about. Hangs up, and we end Shaun's day there. From there, it's him going to
red on you. You've got red on you.
Yeah, I got a great point. Yeah, I forgot the red on you, which of course is one of the first callbacks in the film. Noelle did it, and then Philip does it. Anyways, from here we go to the flower shop after work where Shaun's buying the flowers for his mom. He gets two choices for the card, picks a wonderful mom. While this happens, while she starts bagging it up, he looks outside and there's what looks to be a homeless man about to eat a pigeon. Bus goes by. We lose sight of the man with the pigeon and stuff. So again, they're doing all these things on the bus home.
I love these little small hints of horror.
Totally. You start to see it unraveling, right? On the bus home, you see people starting to like slouch over in their chairs, looking gross, looking sick or whatever. Shaun has to get off early because there's a traffic jam where there's been some kind of accident. You see a lot of commotion, a lot of people outside of their cars. Just as Shaun gets close enough to kind of understand if something was going on or what's going on, Yvonne shows up. This is what we were talking about earlier. Again, someone he knows super well. Obviously, as we know from this movie or will later on, the counterpart, right? The other version of Shaun. She's just bought a house, very adult. She's on her way to, being a real adult, quote unquote, right? However, he's still with Liz. At least somebody made it. They're surviving. We've already made these references. And at the very end, of their conversation when obviously. Oh, he's like, oh, we just had our anniversary. Oh, did you do anything special? And it all clicks for Shaun. We get one shot wide of them with in the background, them putting the paddles to someone in the car because obviously this person's probably succumbed to zombiness. This is when Shaun realizes he's fucked up. He rushes home, flowers immediately into the sink, him immediately onto the phone while it rings to the place that does all the fish. Ed is there to ask, aren't you going to thank me? Thank you for what? Thank you for what? I tied it up. Doesn't look that tidy. I had a few beers when I finished. He's still on hold or whatever. He picks up like Mauricio's and he's like, can I put you on hold? Puts him on hold. Your mom rang about you coming over tomorrow. Liz rang about you eating out tonight, and then your mom rang back about me eating her out tonight. What? Phone answers. Great stuff. Phone answer, and also it's great stuff, and this is like one of those things that's such a weird, interesting touchdown. I shouldn't say weird one of like Ed so is that college friend. You know what I mean? Like he is somebody I would have lived with and been in the Antlers with. You know what I mean? And so like I see, especially now being removed from watching this film over and over and over again when I was in college and lived at the Antler house, and now being an adult dealing with adult shit all the time. Like you see the push and pull everywhere. Shaun's lost in the water. Phone gets answered by the restaurant guy comes back from being on hold. Shaun begs for a table. Sorry, I just gave away the last one. Shaun hangs up. He bites the receiver, and the noise is like imprinted in my brain. The way it sounds of his teeth on it, just the Foley. Yeah. And then I love this. It's one of those things where I think I always. In movies, whenever somebody is like, oh, they have to lie on the spot and they can't fucking do it. You know me, I lie all the goddamn time to everyone in my life. I'm a genius at it. But I love how quickly it happens where he's biting it and then the phone rings and he picks it up and it's Liz and he hasn't even had time yet to think in this scene about what he would actually say here, right? So he just comes clean of like, there's been a mix up about the table. You didn't book it, did you? No. Where should we go? Oh, there was a brief conversation about what to do without this fish place. Of course, Ed suggests the Winchester. They don't do it. And then Ed runs over, does the W. He says the Winchester. She hangs up. Then it's another, like we're talking about these fast cuts and these edits, right? Him grabbing the flowers out of the thing, grabs his whatever, and then he's out the door. And then he's over at Liz's, ringing the doorbell. This is David and Diane upstairs accepting the call. Shaun wanting to come up, them saying, no, do you want me to climb the terrace? I'll climb the terrace. We get it from them up there listening as he tries to climb the terrace, and then he buzzes again. I can't get up the terrace. They let him in there, and then we're off to the races with the Liz and Shaun breakup here as they go back and forth, and Liz lays into him and how he's all talk. He doesn't actually do anything, right? You said you'd quit smoking. I can quit anytime. You said you'd give up. You'd drink red wine with me instead of beer. Said you'd work out. You know what I mean?
No more smoking.
That was the first one, yeah.
He throws I like important that he throws it because it's another callback later where she saved the package.
I can quit anytime, yeah. And he throws them in an apartment, yeah. Or the garbage bin. Yeah. So
and he gives her the flowers. This is the best part.
Yeah.
Gives her the flowers. She's just like, to the best mom ever, huh? And he goes, oh.
Well, what I love about it actually, is like it's actually the before then, right? Of them, they have this explosive argument where Shaun's desperately trying to do it. He, when he's like, I can give up anytime. He throws him in the bin, and then what was the next one? He's already forgotten what she said to him and why she's mad and what it was confronted about, right? She storms off, and that's when David's like, well, I'd say your 9 lives are up, and he's like, shut up, you know what I mean? He does the whole thing, and it's like we establish here, of course, that David has a crush on her and Liz, and he's always been waiting in the wings. Well, that'll blow up later.
What a fantastic character. I love him being like this antagonist because he's just like, you hate him immediately. Like, it takes like 3 words of him talking. You're just like, fuck this guy. And it's just like, I love that even when you have such a fuck up like Simon Pegg's character, it's like with that guy, you're like, well, I'm still rooting for Shaun here at all times.
Yeah, and this is during the fight, this is I thought one of the best lines, too, of like what he's like, we can go out with them or whatever, and Liz is like, what, a failed actress and a twat? That's not true. Harsh words, yours, not mine. I did not call Diane a failed actress. Hard stop. Anyways, the explosion's over. He goes back in there, hands the flowers to a wonderful mom. These are for your mom, aren't they? And he again, Shaun tries to come up with a lie, and he's like, yeah, and she just passes it off, and she lays it out, right, of like, I just feel like if I don't do something with my life, I'm going to end up like all those sad fuckers drinking their lives away in the Winchester. And Shaun just goes, what do you mean do something? And then hard cut to him back outside of the house, dejected, steps outside, rain starts, just Charlie Browning it, right? Of like how bad his day's going. From there, it's off to the Winchester with Ed, right? To drink it all away. And so they're sitting there, mourning all of this stuff and everything that's gone on or whatever. This is there's a bunch of great lines and stuff going on here, right? But this is, the first one of the jukebox being on random, right? As it plays the sad song and all this stuff and laying it all out.
If you leave me now, who put that on? It's on random.
Yeah. But even before then, because that'll be the cut to jump on, he's like, John, yes, please. It's laying it out, right? He won't smoke the cigarette, and because he did, blah, blah, blah. It's him trying to make his change and all this different stuff. And then it is into this drinking montage, right? Of them going through and just getting bombed or whatever. Maybe it's actually before then, but then it is, she didn't want to be in here drinking her life away like these sad fuckers. And he's like, sad fuckers, these are some interesting characters. At which point he goes around and makes stories up, right? About snake hips, about cafe au lait, pour toi. And laying all that out, and then John and Bernice behind the bar, of course. They're London mafia. John handy with the blade, Bernice the trophy wife. Big Al says it's true. Big Al also says dogs can't look up. Sitting there,
it's all those little meta stories, those meta jokes that they have inside there, where they bring it back up, and it becomes kind of a story that as well, because you feel like you're kind of in that group. It's just so funny how we didn't understand what the source of, Al says that dogs can't look up, but then by the third time we hear it, we're like, oh yeah. It's so great.
And it's the same way too of Snake Hips is given 2 seconds there, right? Polygamist or whatever, sitting there smoking his cigarette. And it took me multiple viewings, even watching all the time, to realize when Liz is like, but we are getting close to the Winchester, right? And he looks through and he sees those children eating a person. It's Snake Hips. It's his boots there at the end that are all shiny.
Was it children or was it all women?
I thought they were kids, but it would make more sense narratively if they were women. But I can, they're zombies.
Oh yeah, because polygamous. Yeah.
But it also could be as all his children. Who knows? Anyways, that's established there. And then Ed has this great line, right? Of listen, I'm not going to say all the cliches. There's many fish in the sea. I'm just going to say, it's not the end of the world. And then boom, right up against the thing, the zombie slowly banging. And John just says, sorry, we're closed. And it leaves, and they're like, pisshead or whatever they say. From there, they leave drunk. There's a little sign, of course, like every bar, please respect our neighbors or whatever. They don't. They come out singing. Why? The first time I had ever heard that song, immediately got it on fucking Live Wire or whatever that one was. Yeah, exactly.
So good.
Yeah.
See, that was the thing that got me too, because I had known that song. Obviously, I think cocaine jokes are hilarious. And so when they started singing that and they look over and it's just, oh God, I was like, these guys are geniuses and they just get me.
Yeah. And so, they run into zombie. Then they go home. They start blasting electrode or whatever. They're drunk and weird side hats and all this shit. Pete comes down, throws the record out the window. It's Saturday. No, it's not. It's fucking Sunday. And I have to go to work because every other fucker in my department. Now, do you see why I'm so fucking pissed off? Yeah. And he's using his hands a lot.
As they are walking out drunk, I just wanted to make mention of the couple making out. And then turn around, the head fall. So fucked up. It's so gruesome.
Also,
again... Are you talking about the couple?
No, I was gonna go.
What I want to talk about the couple, just for the couple, and then I'll get out of your way. When they leave, I never understood this before because I'm not British. Ed says something to the effect of when he sees them necking over there, what did you forget your tea? What, you didn't get your tea? And I was like, what does that have to do with anything? And when Lucy saw me, she looked at me when we were watching last night. She's like, do you understand that tea also means dinner? And I was like, oh, I did not understand that. Okay, cool. Kevin back.
I was going to say, when he walked into the Winchester, he threw the flowers away in the garbage, right?
Yeah.
Which comes back later, and it's just I think these are for me.
I think they're for me. Yeah, of course.
Greg, what is tea time? What can it
dinner
also be?
It could be dinner or the drink.
Speaking of dinner, ladies and gentlemen, this episode is brought to you by Green Chef. Green Chef is the first USDA certified organic meal kit company. Green Chef makes eating well easy and affordable with plans to fit every lifestyle. Whether you're keto, paleo, vegan, vegetarian, or just looking to eat healthier, Green Chef is where you want to look. Ain't that right, Kev?
Yep.
Yes, it is. Ingredients come pre-measured, perfectly portioned, and mostly prepped, so you can spend less time stressing and more time enjoying these delicious home-cooked meals. Kev's been doing this. He gets the vegetarian option because his wife Paula is vegetarian. But like I said earlier, there's so many different plans out there for everybody, and you should check it out. what's right for you. Green Chef is the most sustainable meal kit, offsetting 100% of its direct carbon emissions and plastic packaging in every box, which Gia's really excited about. She's always talking about that. I'm sure at some point I've told you guys about the nightmare she has about landfills. Anyways, shout out to Green Chef.
I don't know if I've heard that one.
For making sure that she like literally bursts into tears sometimes. It's really, really, really weird. You can go to greenchef.com/morningshow90 and use code morningshow90 to get $90 off, including free shipping. That's greenchef.com/morningshow90 and use code morningshow90 to get $90 off, including free shipping. Green Chef, the #1 meal kit for eating well. And also, shout out to Gabby. We're all looking for ways to save money, especially now. So let me ask you this. How would you like to keep an extra $961 a year in your pocket? That's how much Gabby customers save per year on average on car and home insurance. So I often thought about maybe I'm not saving as much money as I could when it comes to my insurance and stuff. I looked at Gabby. It just links to your current insurance. It judges it against all the other insurance providers, and it lets you know what you should be transitioning to. Luckily, I didn't need to. But now I have a lot of peace of mind, and that's what matters most. You just link your current insurance account, and in just minutes, you'll be able to see quotes for the exact same coverage you currently have. Like I mentioned earlier, Gabby customers save $961 per year on average. That's fantastic. You're probably overpaying on car and home insurance. See how much Gabby can save you. It's totally free to check, and there's no obligation. Go to gabi.com/morningshow. That's gabi.com/morningshow. gabi.com/morningshow. Back to it.
So while Pete's screaming at them and not liking everybody, we establish again, right? I assume it is Liz who did the dumping. I think that might be afterwards, but I'm tossing in there all the same. He has a he has a bandage on his hand. At which point, what's up with your hand? And he's like, I got mugged by a bunch of crackheads on the way home, and one of them bit me. Why would he bite you? I don't know. I didn't stop to ask them. The establishment of him being bitten now, right? Also the establish of, that Shaun, your life's in the shitter and this isn't helping and this isn't the way to do it. And the front door was open again. I should point out we missed that the first time too. But again, you've seen the fucking movie from the very first conversation that the door is open. This is what they keep doing, right? So, Pete goes back to bed. Ed goes off, pissed off, and Shaun stumbles into the kitchen and writes on the board, right, his to-do list. Go to his mom's, get Liz back, sort life out. He passes out. Lights change. He snaps back awake, all hungover and shit, right? And sees it immediately on the thing. This is your objectives, right? Like a video game. He stumbles out of the kitchen. Ed's on the couch. He's like, I'm going to the shop. You need anything? Ed wants a Cornetto. Of course, the wrap-up ice cream you get out of the freezer case. He then stumbles outside, and again, we the viewer, not hungover Shaun in the scene, or just fuck about Shaun in the scene, immediately notice everything's similar, but also not. People are shambling through the streets. They're already zombies. Shaun's walking through. Somebody runs by him, as in the first scene, of course, but they are not running for fun. They are running for their lives. The car that was being washed the day before is all smashed and covered in blood, but still similar enough. He stumbles into the store, Nelson's store, goes to do the normal thing of picking up the Diet Coke and getting the regular Coke. When he opens it, there's bloody handprints on the glass. He turns around and slips in some blood. You also see him walk over. There's no papers. He calls out for Nelson for papers, but of course there's frantic message in a foreign language on the speakers. He puts down his money. He's shortchanged. Nelson starts shambling out as well. He's like, I owe you whatever, 15 quid. Goes back. It's also
unsettling. The music, it's so well done. They set the tone so great during all of this. I'm immediately uncomfortable. I don't love scary movies, and this is like one of my favorite movies of all time. It's way more of a comedy than it's a horror movie, but I still get freaked out.
That's such a hard tone to nail, right, Andy? To your point, like the line between comedy and actual horror is like those two are pretty far apart on the spectrum of like genres and movie making. So to be able to actually combine those perfectly in a scene like this, where it is very unsettling, but also you're laughing because how many days have you been where you're just in your own head and you're not paying attention to anything? You just walk through and you could legitimately walk by a zombie apocalypse and be like, I don't know, I'm up my own ass right now. I can't even tell what's going on around me.
And again, that's what, back to the, not foreshadowing even, but the world they painted the picture of being a zombie and just going through life, whether you're the people stuck at the bus stop or the people on the bus, whether you're Shaun, right, who is just like languishing and wasting his life for all intents and purposes. But my favorite is when he goes past the now zombified homeless guy who's got his hands out and he's like, oh, I didn't even have enough for the shop, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Just totally in his own head, up his own ass, like you said. And you see as he goes into his house, you see the shambling guy, the guy from before, the guy in the wedding with now one arm, who we'll see in a second. He goes in. As soon as he comes in the house, he can't find Ed, and then Ed is in the window, and there's a girl in the garden. What? In the garden, there's a girl. They go out there, and it's the checker from the beginning, just standing out there. Yeah, Nick?
This scene is so... I totally forgot about this when this last time watching it, and they're looking, and it's just intense, and he goes, she's so drunk. They don't get it. They just do not get what's going on.
Right. Yeah.
I remember laughing out loud in the theater during that part. I'm like, that is so perfectly done.
And so, she shambles over to them, right? And they're playing it very, funny, like it's just a drunk woman. She grabs for Shaun, falls on top of him.
I think she likes you.
Yeah, right. Rather than help, Ed runs off, and he's like, 1 second, hold on. Comes back out with the old fucking point click and rewind cameras. He's like, hey, and they turn her head, and they both look at the camera. He takes the picture, right? He eventually pops back up. She pops back up, and he's like, listen, I'm gonna get physical. This is your all right. And he shoves her, and she stumbles all the way back and falls over onto what would be like where you put anything. It's like an umbrella stand. Yeah, exactly. And it goes through her stomach, and they both sit there freaked out, and then you can get more freaked out as she comes up. She is, of course, a reanimated corpse. She pulls herself back up, and we get the CG looking through the center of the hole in her chest at them, and then the payoff to the camera joke is Ed, just without even doing anything, just starts winding the camera again. Shaun knocks it out of his hand. At this point, our second zombie gets introduced.
Whole sequence is so great just because of Ed's fate, or what is that his name? Ed.
The character is Ed. He's Nick Frost.
Yeah, I just love Nick Frost's face the whole time. Like as she falls on that thing, he just has this face that will not change. Like what? Because obviously we look at Simon Pegg and he's just like, holy fuck, and Ed is just like. Like he just has this look. It's such a good look, and it stays the whole time until you see it through the fucking hole in her body. It's so great.
Yeah. And the scene that we're about to get right here with the records being thrown, I just love so much because it's so classic Edgar Wright, where it's just the perfect thing for these characters to be doing in this moment, and the dialogue is so funny of like choosing which ones to throw and which ones not. Nick Scarpino,
what do you got?
Kind of funny.
You guys know that I very seldom have criticisms of a movie that I quote unquote love, right? Like I've
the
never
Batman soundtrack got you.
The fucking part where he's like the Batman soundtrack, throw it. I was like, I'm done with this movie. How dare you? How dare you?
Before then, they do go back into the house where Shaun calls 911 over and over again, and it's engaged. And Ed keeps going down the list: police, an ambulance, a fire truck. It's all one number, Ed, and it's engaged. And so he's like, "What do we do? Have a sit down?" And they sit down and watch TV, where they get the news reporter talking about what's going on, right? And he, of course, says, "Hey, if you're at home, make sure all windows and doors are locked." And they have that slow realization as they look at each other that they never shut the door. And at that time, of course, our one-armed groom has walked into the thing. They get up, they start panicking and throwing things and pushing them around. Eventually, when nothing that they're throwing works, including their video game controller, Ed picks up an ashtray and smashes it into the dude's head, collapsing the zombie there. And he has a and so he sits back down, right? No, he doesn't actually. They then gesture back to the TV. This is when it says, destroy the head or remove the brain. This is the zombies also break through the glass at this point. So they go back outside with a laundry basket equipped with toasters and things. Kevin.
Just a quick question. Was this proof that Shaun was the one that was leaving the door open? Because they went out through the back, right? To the backyard?
I think it's both of them.
Okay.
I think they both have the same thing where it's like they're both fuck ups and they both leave the door open. It's just not on their mind. So yeah, they go back outside with all these different things. They start throwing them at the zombies. They eventually run out of everything, and they pick up the record. That's the first album I ever bought. Throws it. It gets the fat zombie in the head. They bring back all the other records. They'd already referenced to what about the shed? The shed's locked. It's always locked. They go through.
The way he busts through is so funny.
Yeah. Then he's like, fuck this. I'm going to the shed. And he just jumps through the door, the fucking decrepit door. And it comes out with, a cricket bat for Shaun, a shovel for Ed. Which you want, the girl or the bloke? First one, they switch sides and they come up and just beat the fuck out of these things and just crush their heads over and over and over again with all these zombie gurgles and noises or whatever. And from this incredibly graphic beatdown scene, then we're met to them on the couch covered in blood, Ed eating his Cornetto. And this is another "you got red on you." This is, of course, then when they watch the TV some more to get more information, destroy the head, remove the brain, stay where you are, blah blah blah, and they start hatching a plan of what they need to do, right? And the idea is, oh shit, what about mom? Oh shit, what about Liz? And so they go through their plans with the slice of fried gold plan options, which I love. Of course, settling on that they're going to go, where's safe, where's secure, where can I smoke? And they remember the Winchester, obviously, after running through the rest. It keeps getting closer. Kill Phil, you know what I mean? Like, as they run through, shortening the plan and doing all this different stuff. And they do the "yeah, boy," and hit their shit together. So they're ready to go. They want to take Pete's car. His keys are still here. Is Pete still here? They call for Pete a few times. They don't hear him. Eventually, oh, prick. He's not here. So it's this psych up to do it, right? Oh, and then I skipped over to them calling everybody. Liz is engaged. That was quick. The number's busy. Another great line. Then they call over to Mom's house, Barbara's house. Philip got accosted outside. They were a bit bitey. Oh God! And like the concern from Shaun and eventually Ed, but the concern from Shaun that his mom got bit. Oh no, it's just Philip. Oh okay. And then is Barbara okay? They bit. We might have to kill Philip. Oh okay. And then we're coming to get you, Barbara. The great Night of the Living Dead callback line.
So good.
They're psyching themselves to go, and then I'm gonna take a wee. Simon Pegg. Shaun goes up there. He takes the piss, shuts the mirror, sees Pete behind him. Of course, takes off his badge too, as he's kind of like leaving that life behind. Sees Pete up there, opens the thing. Pete did turn into a zombie there in the old bathtub. They come down. Simon Pegg or Shaun again. I don't know. I'm starting.
I love the sunburn on Pete, by the way.
Oh yeah, I didn't even notice it.
Yeah, because Pete has been standing in that same position in the tub in the shower the whole time. So when he walks out, like half of his side is super red.
Oh shit! I never noticed.
That. That's cool.
They come downstairs and Shaun again now lost in his head after seeing Pete up there. I also skipped the other great thing too of him looking through the mail slot of like, maybe it's not that bad. And he's like, how many zombies are out there? And he shuts it. Don't say that. We don't say that word.
The Z word.
The Z word. It's ridiculous.
Well, how many are there?
But are there any? And he looks out, he's like, no, maybe it's not that bad. And the other great thing, oh no, there they are. As he just looks to his right, there's like a sea of zombies or whatever. Shaun comes down though this time. They've been psyched up in the moment. Shaun's now off kilter, and they open the door in a very befuddled way, go out there. Ed gets confused, sets off the alarm. All the zombies start coming. The kid from earlier is there as a zombie soccer player. They eventually he pushes them. They get in the car. They shut the doors. They peel out as Pete leaves the thing.
I did think there would be another line of callback to "You're dead."
To the kid? Yeah. Because when Shaun gets the ball kicked at him on the first walk, he says, "You're dead."
Yeah.
To the kid. Also, I do love the thing of when Pete is in the shower and Shaun realizes he's like, oh, okay, we're going to go. Well, we might go to the pub later. Like, enough of that cues in Pete's head or whatever, maybe to get him to the pub later. I love that idea. Anyways, though, they peel out, they take off. They're blasting music because that's how Ed loves to drive and do everything. They're cutting through the streets. We get to see, London in disarray, or at least this burb of London in disarray, as people are being wheeled out, families are being torn apart, zombies are coming back in every way, shape, and form. And while they're trying to, they have it on the actual news before they put in a tape. How about something better? Put in a tape and it's blasting, and they're doing, and then they hit somebody, and it turns out it's a zombie. Oh, thank God for that. They peel out again from there, right?
That cut. It's just a
when
moment
he
where
wakes back up.
Thank God for that.
Oh, thank God for that. They peel out of there. They got Barbara and Phillips, where the Jag is in the driveway, half washed from where the guys got him. And as they pull up, there's so much great characterization here, but I love from Nick Frost's performance here, where he rolls on the window and like literally as soon as the window clears, he's out and he goes, whew, whistles, which I can't do. He goes, who's a pretty boy, and talks about how much he loves that Jag or whatever, and how Shaun's like, no, like I once left a half of a Mars bar in the glove compartment, and he chased me around the garden with a bit of wood. Kevin,
you can't whistle?
No.
Huh.
Like I can't like whistle like he whistles. Yeah, but like I mean, like watch the scene. Like he's like he like is
everybody. All five of us. Let's try to whistle. All five. Kevin, you go first.
No, I don't want to. I'll go second.
Go first, Kevin. Whistle first.
No, I don't want to. I'll go after Nick.
Go whistle, Nick. And say, "Who's the pretty boy?"
Who's the pretty boy?
Tim.
I can't whistle.
You can't whistle?
It looks like a non-whistler. The non-whistlers are outnumbering the whistlers.
The closest I can do is.
That's a whistle.
It's a
But
whistle.
that's sucking in. I can't change
Wait, you
it.
sucked
I
in?
can't,
It's moments like this where I say to myself, why do I allow these people to make fun of me for being inverted when I play games when you can't even freaking whistle?
Nick.
You idiots can't even whistle.
I can't.
Wait, you
Yeah,
can't
I gotta
whistle
take
either?
shit.
Just me and Nick? Wow.
Yeah.
Hey, there it is.
I
We
don't know
got
who
it.
it sucks for more.
Look at your
I
company.
know.
yeah.
I'm in terrible company. I know.
So
What does that
rather than
fucking
everybody
mean?
go in the house, and immediately he's like, you know what? Why don't I stay out here? Any trouble? Beep beep beep. I'll beep the horn 3 times. You know what I mean? He's like, all right, fine, whatever. He goes inside. Don't forget to kill Philip, and he trips as he gets off thing. They go in there. Immediately Sean's greeted by his mom Barbara, who wants to cook him sandwiches and get him some tea and all this stuff. And he's like, yeah, it's fine, whatever, mom. Blah blah blah. Philip's in
Fully
there.
prepared to kill Philip. Fully prepared. I love all of this sequence, slow walking in. Try not to alarm Barbara, but Barbara, I'm going to kill Philip. So, like, I'm just really, really cautious. And then Philip is not dead, turns out.
Yeah.
He's not zombie yet.
Yeah, exactly. I'm so sorry, Philip. For what did you do
For
this time?
what?
And he's like, what's that cricket bat? You bring it? Oh, is that for the jumbo? Yeah, I have a bunch of your toys upstairs. I took those. I threw them at the bin or whatever. He's like, oh, like Shaun immediately from dead to pissed off his toys got thrown away. Like, oh. And so, yeah, there's this back and forth, of course. Barbara's already called the doctor. Philip's not happy about that. I ran it under a cold tap. It's all a bunch of overblown nonsense. Don't worry about it. Yada, yada, yada. Shaun goes back. He's trying to get it, Philip just to stay behind. He goes into the kitchen with his mom. Mom, how much do you love Philip? And again, we get this whole thing of the stepfather relationship that for 17 years is, that they've been together. Shaun's been against him the entire time, just annoyed by him or whatever. Do we have to go through this again?
Mom, I didn't want to tell you this, but Philip touched me
On several occasions, yeah.
Sean.
And then she just stops cutting and turns around and she just looks at him and he goes, that was a lie.
That was a lie.
Yeah. And she's like, you have to get over the fact that like, Philip is my husband and we're together. And Phil comes in, yeah, Shaun, it's time to be a man, yada, yada, yada. And so, but as he does this be a man thing, we then get the cut of Shaun walking out and dragging his like cricket bat all stoically and sad behind him. And they get outside where Phil and Barbara go to get in the car. We have a conversation with Ed. I love the Barbara's like, my, how you've grown. He's like, no, yeah, like totally flirting with Barbara all the time.
So inappropriate.
And so we're going to different cars. We're gonna go get Liz. And then he's like, where's the car? And he's like, oh yeah, about that. And he turns and he got in an accident with the car already. He's like, I thought we could all just take the Jag or whatever. And he's like, all right, fine. Phil. And as he turns around to talk to Philip, the more zombies are moving. And he's like, Philip, look out. They get him. They bite him on the neck real bad. Shaun slides over the car, has the cricket bat, knocks them off, gets them away.
And big old chunk.
Yeah, he's not coming back from this. You know how it is.
It's funny.
There's nothing.
I was gonna say these zombies are like so slow, but somehow, like when they need to, they're just fast enough to like rip you apart.
That's a Romero zombie movie, man. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's totally the thing. And I love how this movie plays with that of like, it's not that hard. You know what I mean? Like, especially when Shaun goes into and out of Liz's place, and just beating the fuck out of everybody. Yeah. Oh yeah, and then at the very of course outside the Winchester and like a break in logic where they're able to get away, but it doesn't matter. It's fun. Give me the keys. You're not driving this car. Give me the keys. Gets everybody. Yeah, Nick.
Is there anything more off-putting in any form of media than somebody biting a chunk off of someone's skin and having the sort of tendril, like muscle thing pull the skin pull away? That is always, that always gets me every single time.
Same, Nick. Same.
Sure. So they pile into the car. Phil, Barbara's pushing napkins, Kleenex back to Philip, like those mom tissues that every mom has and every grandmother has. She's giving them off to him, and he's holding the thing over there. The music's way too loud. Ed's driving like a jackass. Philip's screaming for it to be turned down, and Ed is just ignoring it. And then finally, Barbara's like, "It is a bit loud." He's like, "Sorry, Barbara." It turns it down perfectly. He's driving like a maniac, of course. They get over to Liz's place, pull up there, and then, they stay, Barbara and Philip stay in the car with Ed. Shaun goes to get out, but the child locks her on. Safety first, Shaun. And he goes out through the roof, gets down, and he tries to do the thing. And Ed's like, yeah, I got it. The beep beep thing, got it. He peels off. Shaun goes and it approaches. He rings the bell while he's waiting. The zombies make their way, and we get another. This is another shot parroting the first, or parroting the first, I guess, of David and Diana up there listening, right? And by the time they actually listen in, it's just groans and noises, and then we see Shaun crawl up to the window on the other side. Will you let me in? He's able to finally get himself in this time. He comes in. Why are you even here? Blah, 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 blah. This isn't about us. This is about survival. We're going to the Winchester. You've been to a lock-in? Yeah, several. And she's like pissed off about it. And they're going to go there. It's got a big, heavy door. It's got all these things. There's a gun above the bar. Surely it's deactivated. Yada, yada.
What's a lock-in?
Okay.
What's a lock-in?
I've never done one for a bar, but in school, a lock-in would be like a slumber party where you'd go there and they lock the door would be the idea. Like you're locked in a place and you play, as a kid, you played games and you watched movies and shit like that.
Weird.
That's what I assumed it was, Greg. But maybe there is a different thing in Britain that I'm just not sure of.
If only we had a resident English person living with you that you could.
Hold on, we'll slack loose and see if she's available.
Because
I don't want to scream and ruin her show.
Greg, I've been to several lock-ins. Like we had a lock-in at Peter Piper Pizza one time. It was fucking awesome. But yeah, I'm not sure about a lock-in at a bar.
What's the like an overnight thing at a pizza thing?
Yeah, it's like a school thing, Kevin. So there would be like lock-ins if you got like straight A's. It'd be like a reward sort of thing. It's a big like slumber party, and you and your friends are just there. You're playing games. You're flirting with girls. You're eating pizza. It's really, really.
Oh
cool.
yeah,
I assumed in the context
cool.
of this, they were talking about a lock-in like the scene we saw prior, where they were drinking in the bar after it had closed, and it was locked, and they go,
it makes sense.
Like I thought that's what they were talking about. Where like you just were so cool with the bar owners, they're like, you guys can keep drinking, don't worry about it.
That's a good point.
But we have to lock the door so that new people don't come in.
Yeah, because there's a bunch, even in certain states here, that's how it works, right? Where you can't enter a bar, but if you're already in the bar, you're in the bar, and they can't kick you out until whatever the hell it is.
This lame
Hold on,
state.
All right, Andy, I'm gonna have you ask Lucy the question, okay?
Okay. We're waiting for Lucy. Get on mic.
Hi guys.
Hello, Lucy.
Hey.
It's me, Andy from Kind of Funny. We are wondering, what does the term lock-in mean?
Could you use it in a sentence?
So in Shaun of the Dead, they're talking about how we're going to go to the Winchester at the very, very end, and the girlfriend's like, why are we doing that? And they're like, you've been to a lock-in, haven't you? And she's like, yes, I have. Were there many? So just to kind of give you context, me and Greg assumed it was a lock-in like we used to have in school, where you'd have a big slumber party at school, and there would be teachers there, kind of like chaperoning or whatever. But it would be a big slumber party where you just have snacks and play games and hang out. And we were wondering if that's the same thing in the UK, or Nick said it could be a reference to the part where they are still drinking after the bar closes, after the doors are locked.
It's probably that one. So
That's what
in
I
the
assumed.
UK, you have last orders where they ring the bell and they say last orders. Yeah. So they've probably locked the door and they just they kind of like gently try and get you out, but you're there for you've got a good hour. So I feel that's more what lock-in refers to.
Okay,
makes sense.
But also, I would really like to unpack the little school sleepover thing you just told me about. Because
It's not West Coast we don't do that.
We did
so
not. So
okay.
So with Greg and I are very familiar with these lock-ins, and sometimes you would have these moments where you did really, really good in school. You got straight A's. You were part of the group that got a higher rewards or whatever. So they go, oh, you finished with this amount of A's or whatever, you get to be in the lock-in. And sometimes you would have a lock-in in school. Sometimes you would have a lock-in at the local pizzeria that everybody loves.
See.
And when you're there, it's you and all your friends, and there's teachers there, but it's like an overnight thing. And there's games, and you can sleep if you want, or you can just keep playing games with your friends.
Andy,
That's
you
wild.
slept at your school? That was a normal thing that would happen every once in a while?
It happened. No, I mean, it happened. I did it maybe 3 or 4 times in my life.
Fucking crazy.
You did so well at school, your reward is more school.
Damn.
Our school couldn't wait to get rid of us.
I mean, they would let you bring they'd let you bring in your Nintendos and stuff, and it was
That
a
is
fun.
cool, though.
It was a fun thing to hang out with your friends in school and flirt with the girls there and stuff.
Oh.
And,
How old were you? Is this a...
probably a middle school thing, I would say.
Oh my!
Oh
Are
wow,
you
that's
serious?
dangerous.
You're gonna put a
Yeah.
bunch of middle school kids in a
Those are the
sleepover?
worst. Those are the worst.
Hell
Yeah.
no.
No, maybe it was late elementary then. Maybe it was late elementary.
Handies
You're
left
right.
and right. Oh my
You're right.
god.
Do you have any other British questions for me?
I don't, Lucy. Thank you so much for joining us.
Do you know what
Lucy
Yum
James,
Num means?
Lucy James Games on Twitter
He
and
got off
Instagram.
guard.
Thank you. Wait, Tim, what
I'm
was your
curious.
question?
Do you know what Yub Nub means?
No, I wondered what you were like yelling at about earlier, Yubnub.
Oh yeah.
And then I heard you say something about Ewoks.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So I assumed.
Yipcha!
Indeed.
Yes. Thank you,
Thank
Lucy.
you, Lucy.
Thank
Let's get
you.
some Overwatching
Bye.
later, okay? All
Hell yeah, let me know.
right, be well.
I swear to God, this has been the biggest.
It's
swing
worth
and a
pointing
miss
out.
day
Sorry.
for guest call-in questions.
We're setting a record here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
At the end of
Yeah.
this, the ragu bagu for this will be ranking everyone we brought on the show. Worth pointing out before we go too far off, the lock-in that I went to in school, and of course I went to Catholic school, so a lot of things were around church, but it was like a super lame church one where it was like we made unleavened bread and shit and like drank fucking grape juice, like it was wine or whatever. Like it
You
was
made
fucking
unleavened bread. Like, hey man,
Ew.
what are we gonna make? Shitty
Ew.
bread.
Yeah,
Well,
Greg, what I was just
they didn't ask my opinion, Kev. Like it was teaching us a lesson of whatever. Of,
what I was just telling
Egypt.
Lucy is like our lock-ins were rewards, and it would be a pizza party either at Peter Piper or in school, and there would be sodas, and we'd be playing Nintendo with our friends and shit, and like it was a cool time.
Anyways, okay, so yeah, we get up there. We already talked. Shaun talks to Liz or whatever. David dies immediately, and David's not in, but then he does when he will be if Liz is in. They don't have a better opinion, so they're gonna come do it, and they all get in the car and they all go do it, right? And they're all packed in super tight. This is the first time, by the way, you've seen the movie, but like Shaun's mom had ever met Liz. They meet in the car there as they all get their really fast introductions, right? Again, Ed takes off, driving like an asshole, acting like he's just, a psychopath for the most part. But as he's driving like a crazy person, in the back, Philip grabs Shaun and is like, starts into his, death monologue here, which always hits for me, right? Of just like,
Great.
when I met you, you were already so old, and I thought you could do great things. You just lacked the motivation, and I thought you just needed somebody to look up to, and I hoped it could be me. And he's like, but it wasn't. He tells him he loves him, and take care of your mother, and then he passes. And Shaun starts crying, and then Ed's driving like an asshole and doing, stop the fucking car, and he stops, but he does it by pulling the e-brake and spinning them around and being a complete jerk. And he's like, chill out. Stop telling me to chill out. And for your information, everybody's not okay. And he's like, Mom, Philip's gone. Where is he gone? He's passed away or whatever. He's dead. No, he's not. He's right. And he's like, oh my God, get out. And then they try to get out of the car. It's pandemonium. They turn the music back on. It's super loud. Child locks are on. Ed freezes. Liz runs over, gets the door open, gets David, Di, and Shaun out. They slam the door. Philip's in there. And the zombies are there. They're making their moves on him. And like we have to leave him. Barbara doesn't want to leave him, and this is another great line of like, no matter what he looks like, and no matter how he acts, there's not a part of your husband is still that man. And he's like, and he turns off the music and then just chills out for a second.
That's so fucking fun.
So creative,
amazing,
man.
right?
Like this movie is just relentless with how creative it is. It's just line after line is a callback to a prior moment in the movie. It's so I feel like this movie and Hot Fuzz, obviously no future spoilers, but they are two movies that are planned out so perfectly well, where there are so many movies that we've reviewed on this show that you could tell a bunch of different hands were in the process, and some things seem disjointed, and maybe there's some logic that doesn't make a whole lot of sense because it feels like, damn, when did they write that character? Because clearly, like, that character changed over time or whatever. This whole movie is like so airtight in what it does. Like, goddamn, Edgar Wright's just so talented, man.
So now they're on foot. They're cutting through back alleys, and this is where we run into the alternate universe Shaun, led by Yvonne, right, as they all pass each other with similar outfits and similar relationships, and it's just a funny little joke there. And obviously, if you know all these cast members, you get all these different references that I never did back in the day, and for the most part don't. However, as they continue on, they get to the point of like the Winchester's right over there. Oh, right over the 20 garden fences. What's the matter, David? Never heard of a shortcut? And he turns and runs, and the first one just collapses underneath his
So
feet.
good.
So good. He pops back up, and they get going, right? And so as they go, and they're cutting through these different neighborhoods, and this is where the snake hips thing was. We're on the right trail. Barbara's like, I think Jill and Derek live around here, and that's when the zombie in the bathrobe pajamas comes over and is at the glass or whatever. So they come around, right, and get to where they're going and where they need to be. I think, is it Shaun marches up first, looks over, sees lots? No, yeah, maybe, yeah. And then he comes down, and then we're all here, right? And Diane's like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 6 of us. And he hears his mom scream from the other side. He jumps off the trampoline over there. There's a lot of noises, and finally he breaks through with the pajama bathrobe.
It's the damn zombie that, for me, I always think is a mixture of Colin from Whose Line It Is It Anyway?
Yeah.
He's always reminded me of that guy. And this is another really, really weird reference. But the guy that they called Cash, the creepy, kind of shady dude from the movie Black Sheep with Chris Farley, where the lady governor, what's her name, is like trying to
call me Cat. My best friend just call me Cash.
He always reminded me of that guy and Colin Mockery from Whose Line Is It Anyway? They're a fusion, and they just look it's so weird, and few people understand that reference. So shout out to you.
I get you, dog.
I mean, to go even further, he reminds me a lot of Poe's dad. So yeah, you got that going for you.
People definitely understand that one.
So I mean, that's a joke just for Poe, I guess. You know what I mean? Also, it's worth pointing out that with 2,300 votes cast, 82.1% say that yes, Yub Nub slaps. 17.9% say it does not slap.
Stop the vote. Stop the vote.
No, neither David nor Ed will come to Shaun's help while he fights off this zombie, and they don't have their weapons anymore because they're locked in the car with Philip. Eventually, though, Diane pulls up what is a tetherball stake, tosses at him, and he goes yes, and he spins it around and then bops him on the head with the ball. He's like, no, and that's rubbish. And they turn around, they're like, no. He runs at the zombie, jams him into the tree, stakes him on the tree, right? This is when also great acting here from Barbara of like, you want to talk of like existing in the scene but not being the focal point, where again on your second watch you watch her and she's already putting tissues up her sleeve and stuff like that. Like, you know what I mean? She's doing a great job. She's doing,
quick question about Barb. What the hell was she thinking? Like, why did she go to be like, oh, I wonder if my friends are home?
Well, she's a little,
her husband just died. It's a zombie apocalypse. I mean, people are unmoored. Kevin, you and me are made for this. All right, we wouldn't lose our cool at all. Situation. You know what I mean?
Dumb, slow zombies. I'm so in.
Oh my god, how much fun would that be? You know what I mean? Think about it.
Dumb, slow zombies. I'm in.
We're gonna win eventually.
Yeah, Andy. I don't want any of those fucking fast 28-day later zombies. You know? Infected with fury. No, thank you.
You see one of those, you eat the bullet immediately. Like, you're not gonna win. That you don't, and that's a world you don't want to live in. You know what I mean? Slow zombies, big deal. The biggest downside is you have to sleep in single beds in single rooms. You know what I mean? That sucks. But whatever, you figure it out.
Why is that? Why do you have to sleep in single
beds? If you die when you're sleeping.
Yeah, so what? I want to wake up with Jen chewing on my leg? I've already had that happen once.
If Paula turns into a zombie, I want to go too, you know?
Oh, okay, interesting. So yeah, this is, there's lots over there. What are they gonna do? Blah blah blah. And then the idea sparks, right, of like they could act like zombies. So there's another great scene, right, of the realization of it. And then Diane turns her back to camera. She turns to look at it. She's like, all right, look at this. She like analyzes it as an actor would. You know what I mean? Hint of sadness, like a drunk who's lost a bet. Shake it out. Let's do it. And they go one by one practicing, right? And like Liz is all right. Barbara's not. She's miles away, right? In the classic Gary Whitta line.
Is that actress from
Barbara?
The blonde.
Oh yeah, no, Diane's Wonder Woman's the woman who dressed as Wonder Woman. She's Steve Trevor's thing.
That's awesome. That's
in 1984. She's in a black and white photo. Yeah,
the fisticuffs.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
She just died.
As we go down here, my favorite is Ed, who I'll do it on the night. This is the night. Who died and made you king of the zombies? And Shaun immediately goes in. He's like, all right, that's pretty good. Shaun has this look of accomplishment. Like, all right, 1, 2, and then it's them wading into the zombies in front of the Winchester to get over there. They do a pretty good job, making their way past the twins, making their way past all the zombies we've seen before. They get over to the thing. They huddle up around the mail slot and open up. John, Bernice, it's Ed and Shaun. We do the quiz. There's no response though, and everybody starts to panic a bit. David wants to know if Dave wants to smash the window. Shaun keeps getting cut off as he's trying to tell them there's a thing around a back entrance. And then in the middle of all this, Ed's phone rings and he actually takes the call and sits down and, is again another drug dealer call. And then this is when Shaun slaps it out of his hand and gets up. I'm tired of sticking out with you. You fucked up my entire life. I'm not putting up with it. Not today. At which point, Liz is like, Shaun. And then every zombie's looking at them. In a fit of fast thinking, Shaun decides that he can draw all their attention and get them to chase him, which in this universe works. And so he jumps up there. Oh, I'm sorry. Well, actually, while this happens, David smashes the window. He stops him. Then he's like, all right, cool. He jumps up, gets all their attention, jumps down. It's a buffet. He takes them off running. All the zombies follow. And then our crew, minus Shaun, climbs in through the window to be inside the Winchester. We pick up from there. It's been 20 minutes, 17. No sign of Shaun. They're all starting to figure out what's going on. David wants to close down the window. They want to wait for Shaun to get back. David, of course, being the asshole he is, starts laying into Shaun, right? Of like, what's his plan going to be? Like, what are we going to do here? We're just going to get rounded. We're just going to hang out. What are we actually going to do? You got your bar nibbles or whatever, and he starts going down there, basically chips or whatever, or crisps as they would call them there. And then when he gets the hog lumps, which of course are Shaun's favorite things, he throws them. Shaun catches them. Everybody's like, oh my God, Shaun's back, everybody, yay. There's a great line here of like, what do you think his plan amounts to other than sitting here eating peanuts? But before then, Shaun shows back up. He's eating it. They're not all that. It's not that hard to give him a slip. And then, David's continuing to try to be an asshole or whatever. And he's like, I'm not the one who got into a tiff with your boyfriend. He's not my boyfriend. And then Ed comes over, he gives him the beer. He's like, it might be a little warm. The cooler's off. Thanks, babe. He walks away. I just fucking love that.
Yeah.
And then so, all right, so what are we going to do?
With a little wink, too.
Yeah, exactly. So from there, it cuts to them, sitting in the dark. And he's like, would anyone like a peanut? And they are just sitting there. There is nothing else to do, which, of course, is what you would have thought they would have known they were getting into. But everybody has a problem with it for some reason. I
think that's one of the lines that you said is often quoted by you. Was that the line that you said? Yeah.
No,
maybe not. Because I don't know why that line is so memorable to me. It's just the delivery of it.
It's the delivery,
yeah. Because
it's the same way for me with Pete with it. Be any more of a loser. Like, it's just for some of the way the pronunciation is.
Because I had mentioned during the Bloodborne stream how you need to be patient, Pete. And whenever I think of the name Pete, I always think of Pete. And that's just something I always hear in my head because this movie has just sort of drilled it into my mind.
Yeah.
And yeah, would anybody like a peanut? That delivery is so good.
Anybody like?
So they're sitting there, they're just hanging out or whatever, and the streetlights come on, indicating to Shaun, oh my God, wait, there is power. Like, I can turn on the TV and we can know. And there was a whole argument earlier about, not wanting to advertise their whereabouts when David was starting to come unglued. He throws that back in Shaun's face, stealing Liz's line of they don't want to advertise their whereabouts any more than they already have. And Shaun's like, it's quite simple, just flip the right switches or the right fuses and everything will be fine. Don't worry. He does the little thing. He goes into the back of the bar, looks at it, flips the right switch. Is that it? That's it. TVs are on so they can see it. And then he sees one that he's never seen before and he flicks it and it turns on the light to the back door and he looks there and the zombies are up against the glass. And he turns it off and he shuts the panels and he walks back out. And as he walks back out, the handle on, he checked the door when he came in, but the back door to where, John and Bernice's private quarters are or whatever is rattling too. And he comes out and walks up to Liz. They're flipping through the channels and they're all on standby. They're all off. And Liz's like, oh, there's never anything good on is there? And then she looks at Shaun. She's like, what? And he's like, we've got a problem. Like, they followed me. I thought you gave them the slip. Well, they're here. And she's like, well, then we'll just have to be extra quiet. At which point you hear the video game noise turn on, or the slot machine noise turn on that Ed was playing in the beginning of the thing. And they're like, what now? They run over there. They grab it. She grabs Ed. Shaun unplugs it. And there's this moment of like, what? And then all the zombies start coming up to the windows around him. And they realize how dire their straits are. At this point,
I just want to say really quick that moment of absolute dread in Simon Pegg's face is, I think, such a great moment of just acting without saying anything. I love that look that he makes of just slowly walking back, knowing that this is probably not going to end well. I love his facial reaction there.
at this point, John enters, of course, the bar owner. He's been zombified. He walks in. There's a moment of panic of how are they going to fight him? What are they going to do with him? While this happens, of course, they're using different weapons or whatever, or trying to get different things. It's not going on. Ed had talked about wanting spirits, Drambuie vodka, something that would ignite, it could burn the whole place down. The jukebox turns on random again. They run over and get their pool cues. They then come over to, Don't Stop Me Now by Queen. In sync, beat him with pool cues, which is a fun scene that I think goes on a bit too long. And also it's like, you've killed hundreds of zombies. Like, I get what we're doing here, but at this point in the film, like, we know you're more capable of this. But again, it's a comedy, and it is almost worth it to click over to Diane and Barbara, who are like, watching, but in beat watching it, which I enjoy.
No, I could not disagree with you guys more. I love this. I love how long it goes on. This is one of my all-time favorite movie scenes. Just hard stop. I think that the length that it goes and how ridiculous it is. It's like, that's the power of Queen, baby. And like all the little like the
kill the Queen
moments they have, the kill the Queen, all that stuff. It's like it's fucking, I think, brilliant, and I love how long it stays on.
And she, at one point, Liz hits him with a fire extinguisher, both freezing his face or whatever, and then hitting him in the side of it. But eventually, they run him into the jukebox to stop the jukebox. But at this point, it was that Ed tossed the Winchester rifle to Simon Pegg, who hit him in the face and then used it to run him in. And Ed's like, that's great, but why didn't you shoot him? And he's like, for the last time, the gun goes off. And he's like, I also totally skipped, by the way, of when they were trying to figure out what to fight John with. Diane hit Simon Pegg in the head with a dart, and like just one that always makes me grimace. So this fucking dart in the side of his head, and it turns such
great imagery. Like that is a poster you would buy from Mondo Prints of him with the Winchester rifle and the fucking dart sticking out of his skull.
Well, and that's when he turns around and he pulls it out. Fine.
Oh, and
but dogs can't look up.
The little squirt.
But they added a little squirt of blood.
Totally. Then he uses his tie then to make a tourniquet around his head, right? So then they start running down what's going on. All right, they have the bullets from the bar. It's 28, 29 or whatever. We have 29 bullets. Call them shells. We have 29 shells. Again, back to something I could see me and Poe doing if we were in this situation. Like, you know what I mean? Like, hang with your best friend as these zombies are there. And so they're like, all right, cool. Like, who has experience with a gun? Ed does. He shot his sister in the leg with a BB gun. None of them have real experience, right? David's a pacifist. And Shaun's like, I think we should all use the gun. He's like, how does one? We'll call it out. And this is back to as they start to come through. It's literally the recreation of the video game scene we saw earlier of top left. Keep it simple, top left, and they turn over there and shoot him. But as they're using the gun, the quartet, Barbara and Liz are having a conversation where Barbara's like, he talks about you all the time. Liz notices she's not doing so well. She pulls back, sees the bite, gives her a necklace, which I think is a ring on a chain, right? I think it's a ring to Shaun's real father. They are like, all right, cool. But as this happens, people keep breaking away to see what's going on. So Shaun comes over while this is happening, realizes what's going on. Eventually Ed comes over, realizes what's going on. Diane comes over and realizes what's going on, leaving David with the gun. Barbara's final words are to thank Shaun for the flowers. She knows that we skip what we've talked about earlier and you watched the movie. She passes away. Literally, it's 2 seconds of her being dead, and you hear the gun cock from David or whatever, and they realize what's going on. Shaun pops up and he's like, "You're not going to shoot my mom." And then he grabs the bottle and holds it to he grabs the bottle and holds it to David. Ed grabs the bottle, holds it to David. Diane's like, "This isn't fair." Ed passes the bottle, and then he gets a corkscrew, and they're all holding it to each other's thing, and there's this standoff, right? Of course, David is correct in the situation. He's like, "You can't. What do you want to do, pickle? Like, she's gonna come back. She's going to do this. She's a zombie, and we don't use the Z word." Yeah. They're going back and forth as they lose it because obviously Barbara means so much to Ed as well. In the midst of all their fighting, though, and rabble-rousing, eventually Liz gets everybody to put their guns down, but it doesn't stop it. Of course, Barbara stands up as a zombie behind them. Shaun turns, Barbara stares, not angrily at all. David does pass the gun off to Shaun, and then David says something of like, do it now, and that's when she goes, and then Shaun blows her away. he drops the gun then behind him immediately after killing Barbara, and David, being the prick he is, right, takes off his glasses and like, we all agree you did the right thing there. Shaun turns around, punches David, which knocks him to the ground. David gets the gun, cocks the gun, and pulls the trigger. It's out of bullets at this point, but he tries to kill Shaun, and everybody knows he tries to kill Shaun. He pops back up. Everyone's astounded that they just witnessed this guy try to kill Shaun, and it's this moment where it's all finally laid out on the line, right? Of like, everybody knows you're in love with Liz. This has actually happened, I guess, around here, but it's the culmination of all this, that, Shaun was never good enough for Liz. He's always loved Liz. Diane knows this, that when Liz rebuffed his things, she was there to pick up the pieces. She's come to accept it. It's the unspoken thing in all of these relationships that has finally come into the light of day. David's overwhelmed by this and also knows that he just tried to kill a guy. He goes to the door as if he's going to leave. They're like, going outside would be very bad right now. He's like, well, and then he finally kind of comes down a bit. He apologizes to Diane. Diane's like, maybe I'm not the one you should be apologizing to. And David's like, Shaun, glass shatters, zombies grab him, they drag him out, and they tear him limb from limb, literally.
In the most graphic way. Just out of nowhere.
So brutal.
They go for like,
they wanted
ripping the guts out. Yeah.
Why not have it? You know what I mean?
Didn't someone die in the exact same way in Night of the Living Dead, or one of those?
Dawn of the Dead. Yeah. And of course, Diane has his legs, and then she's left holding his leg. This will be important if you want to watch the DVD extras to how Diane survives. Diane does survive this. She throws open the doors, though, rushing out to save David. Of course, in a frantic mess, she disappears into the throngs of zombies as this happens. Then this is now the. Sorry, go ahead.
Greg, can you just tell us how she survives?
Oh, sure, no problem. So
I'm curious too. I was like, I'm not gonna ever watch the DVD extras.
So the DVD extras, they have like comic strips that are then a little bit animation, but comic strips that they go back panel by panel and that are narrated. And so Diane in character narrates that when she went out there and this huff to find David, she eventually comes to her senses, realizes that she's out there. She went up a tree and stayed in the tree, eating David's limb as needed until eventually a crew came by and saved her, and she keeps in Christmas card contact with Shaun and Liz.
Oh, that's nice.
Jesus
there you
Christ.
Go. Yeah.
I don't believe that. That's some J.K. Rowling rewriting some stuff to make it seem better.
Well, you look at the end of this movie, which are pretty much a pond, right? And it's like, well, how far did she get? And I forget. I haven't watched the DVD extra.
Yeah, there's
forever.
no way she didn't see
she's a tree right there. She sees the army come and she's still eating this leg. Doesn't matter. So yeah, this is all hell breaks loose. Zombies are coming in now from everything. Shaun has the gun. Liz is holding people back with a bar stool. Ed went to make the Molotovs, right? I might be fucking that up, but he eventually gets close to the door. He had Molotovs and he went over towards the door. And he opened it up. He's like, Shaun, look who it is. And it's Pete coming in and he's like, cock-a-doodle-doo. And so like, as he's like making a reference to Pete being there, Bernice comes up and they get him on the ground. Bernice bites Ed's neck. Pete bites his hand or arm. He's screaming. And then, Shaun from across the room is like, Pete, I said, leave him alone, which is a line from earlier. And that gets Pete to pop up and do it. Shaun blows him away. This is when, it's anarchy. It's over. Shaun and Liz get behind the bar. Shaun takes Ed's idea, pours liquor all over it, smashes the bottle against the thing, lights it up so the entire bar's on fire. He sinks down with Liz. They're calling for Ed. They're calling for Ed. Ed finally flops over the top. He's in horrible shape. He's like, can I get a rag? They toss him the rag. He holds it there. And they're sitting there and he's like, where are the bullets? Shaun's like, where are the bullets? They're on the bar. Like, God. And they get up there and Shaun keeps trying to reach in. It's too hot. It's too thing or whatever. Comes back down. What are we going to do? And Ed is like, there's a service entrance underneath there. If you lift the thing, we'll go to the street. And then there's an elevator up where they move kegs and stuff like that. As that plan is established, the
Clutch
Cafe Au Lait.
Plan,
Oh, totally. Which is like, again, if you're in a zombie, here's Greg Miller's free advice for you. When you're in a slow moving zombie thing, right?
No, put this on Patreon. Charge
Fine.
for this.
Good call. Good call. Okay, great call.
Yeah.
So the Cafe Au Lait lady comes in and give us a fucking break. The bullets start popping off. They ricochet off the bell and hit her in the head. Like, yeah, that gives them enough time to get into the basement. They go down there. Ed's bleeding out by the kegs. Shaun and Liz go over to the trap door to get back to the street level. They grab it and they're moving it and they can't get it to open. And they come to this realization they just can't move it. It's not going to happen. So they sit down together and start hatching a plan on how many shells do we have left. They have 2. And Shaun has the great line of like, well, maybe if we get them in a row, we could get a couple. She's like, I'm not thinking for him. He's like, I know. And so then they start talking back and forth, right, about the plan of what's going to go. You have to do me. I'd only muck it up. And Shaun's like, it does the he's like, shooting my flatmate, my mom, and my girlfriend in the same day. I don't know if I have it in me. She's like, what makes you think I'm taking you back? You don't want to die single, do you? They talk a little bit more, and finally, you don't want to die single, yeah, blah blah blah. And he's like, I haven't had a cigarette since I quit or whatever. And Ed's like, it's true. At which point she pulls out, you want one now, pulls it out, and are these the ones that I threw away in the bin? She's like, yeah, I brought them from cheeky. She puts it in her mouth. He goes, or she goes light it, and then he goes light it for her, and then notices the elevator controls for the thing over there. And so it's like, we got this. Goes over to Ed. And Ed's like, no, just leave me here. Like, it's over for me, right? And they have this thing, Shaun apologizes for yelling at him and stuff. And Ed does the, I'm sorry too. And he's like, no, Shaun, I'm sorry. Yeah, exactly, right. Okay.
It's a good joke. It's a good joke.
Then they climb onto the thing. Liz has got a chain. Shaun has got, I forget what weapon he has right here, because he leaves the... and he leaves the gun with Ed. They start going up, and Liz is I love you, Ed, and he's like, and then Shaun's like, I love you too. And then this is interesting because we always call out homophobia and like the liberal use of gay in the early 2000s, right? There's 2 in this movie, right, where Ed's like gay. What I would encourage everybody to do, I don't know if you caught it, when quarantine first started way back in March, Simon Pegg and Nick Frost did a video call with each other, very as themselves, but very similar to the slice of fried gold part, where they went back and forth with how to wait for this whole thing to blow over.
Right.
And at one point in it, like I think it was Nick Frost goes gay, and then but he goes gay, and then he goes but he explains like the context they meant it in, even in that time, not that they were making a homophobic comment, that they were, it's like, it's a funny tongue-in-cheek of obviously how comedy and tastes have changed or whatever, but I think it's important that we address it all the time. We're like,
well, Nick Frost also says the N-word.
There's the N-word.
He does say the N-word. Yeah, I was gonna get to that right here. We're all in the same vein. Everybody calm down.
But there's an acknowledgement from Simon Pegg of like, God, like he does that look, it's like, that's just so inappropriate right now. Like
totally.
Which I always thought was good. And then the throwing out the homophobic slur, made even more inappropriate somehow by the fact that he's referring to Liz and like Shaun's affection for Liz. It's just so it's just like, what a terrible.
Well, no, that's when he's talking about. That's when he's talking about. Oh yeah, I think you're the first reference of it. Yeah,
I think the first reference when Nick Frost says the first time, you're like, we all had that friend that you were just like, but it's first time you can't just use that. Like that's just such. You can't use that for everything. You can't use it for anything, obviously. But like even in that context, that's extra stupid to use it to describe anything like that.
But it again, to like the relationship and the character that Ed is in Shaun's life, right? Yeah, it makes sense. Of course, I remember in high school, and I've talked about this frequently, like being in high school and throwing that around and not meaning it. It was just like, oh man, you're showing any kind of emotion. Yeah, you know what I mean? Dude. And that's just stupid and wrong, and don't do that. But like this, what they're doing here.
With us, it was todo gay. It was that. Like it was like, todo gay, dude. Like, because you have a girlfriend, you're flirting with her. Yeah,
totally. Yeah, you're saying you like her or whatever. And like, shut up. Anyways, though, Liz and Shaun, go up. The doors close. They leave Ed behind. I think you hear one gunshot. That is again the addressment here is that later on, by the way, that, and not that you would need me to figure this out, but they do a comic strip thing to explain how they got Ed home or whatever. Where even though the military shows up and wipes out all the zombies on the street, and you would assume in the Winchester they don't look in the basement door even though it's broken for some reason. Like Ed was able to hide behind kegs as a zombie, and that's Shaun leads him home under the cover of nightfall to get him in the shed and clamp him down. Anyways, though, they come up, they're like, let's do this. They're psyched up again, and military shows up, kills all the zombies that are around them. Yvonne comes out, of course, when they ran into each other in what could just be described, you think, as a throwaway scene. He did tell them, we're going to the Winchester. She's like, the pub. All right. But she knew they'd be there, so she brought back the army with her. She's the only surviving member of her group. They're the only of theirs. At least somebody made it. And then we, see that.
Just great writing. Like
totally.
You know,
Shaun and Liz
at
hold
least
hands.
somebody made it. At least somebody's alive, as opposed to at least somebody made it as a career,
relationship. Yeah,
as an
yeah,
adult.
yeah.
Yeah.
They hold hands, walk into the light, and then we get the zombies from hell. The story of 10-year-old Enrique Eagle, whoever like killed his whole family and did all this different stuff. And that's them clicking through channels, and this is when we get Trisha thing. We get the zombie thing, and it's Shaun walking into his living room 6 months later, and it's the interview with the news guy saying like, I know, remove the head or destroy the brain. Something you never thought he'd say. They also, do a couple little nods for us of like, the rumors that this was started by rage-infected monkeys has been dismissed as bull, and they click off the channel and all that jazz. Shaun walks out though, and it's him and Liz in the apartment he had with Ed and Pete. It's very clean now, and it's painted white, and it's very lovely. He sits down next to Liz. They run through their lovely Sunday. They're gonna have a great time. They're gonna end up at the pub. They're gonna stumble back. They're gonna go to bed early. Liz is gonna go make tea. He'll take 2 sugars, a joke that I haven't referenced in this interview at all. And then he's like, I'm just going to pop into the garden for a little bit. And she goes, go on then. And so he goes out there and he picks up the controller, and player 2 has entered the game. And, he reaches over. Ed tries to take a bite. He's like, and then we get, more Queen as we go out to, Ed and Shaun playing some video games.
You love to see it. You love it so
Syllables
much.
in the middle. You need 5 for the first and last line. If you're not poetic, no need to fret it. Haikus don't need to rhyme. Haiku in review. Haiku in review.
You can go to patreon.com/kindoffunny, just like Matt Grover did, to write your review in haiku form. When zombies show up, cricket bats are essential. Simon Pegg is great.
Mm-hmm.
Graham Hunter comes in with 3 that I'm going to read to you today. Zombies, so patient. They will never interrupt the big plot moments.
Yeah.
Shaun fights Walking Dead. He played cricket with their heads. No, I'm sorry, said Ed.
That's really good.
That was
Wow.
good.
Somebody coming for Blackjack Razak's fucking...
dude. Shaun survived D-Day
The title.
with every zombie cliche. Wait, was that Coldplay? All right.
I like that one. I like that one.
I'll give it to you, Graham. And then we got Matt Bowers. When you lose your love, show her you can fight zombies. Then she'll want you back. And that's it. That's what we got.
Okay.
Obviously, you don't need to rank the movie, but are we doing some type of ragu bagu for this franchise?
Should we do Ragu Good Guy?
I don't know.
Or just
Ragu
guys every single time.
Ragu Bad Guys Talk Pro Tags. What we
Yeah.
call it for?
Yeah. Okay, cool. Ragu Google.
Shaun's number 1.
Yeah, I mean,
Shaun,
right. That's who we're ranking. We're ranking Shaun, right? Our protagonist. Yeah. All right.
Exactly. We will return with more Edgar Wright in review and John Wick in review. But I know we're going pretty long here, boys, but I need to do it. We need to know what Yub Nub means. We need to know if somebody knows the lyrics. I want to give us one more phone call, one more try.
Oh my God.
And I want to between us, who should we call? Because I'm trying to think who would know the lyrics to this song. And
Brian
right
Altano.
Brian
Altano is the name that jumps to me too.
I thought Drucker, I thought he would have had it for sure. But Altano, Gary Whitta,
Gary.
and Carboni.
Wait. Well, Carboni actually is a really good one. I say it's either Carboni or Rahul Kohli. Because Rahul, of course, didn't he do that whole thing on Twitch where he did the exactly, where he did it from memory.
Can I tell you this though? I mean, this does sound like one of those things that Gary, if you said, Gary, what does Yub Nub mean? He would explain to you what it means, but he'd do it in a way where he makes you feel stupid, like you should know it, like you should have known that all
I feel
along.
like this is too granular for him to actually. He'd just be like, it doesn't mean anything, and then hangs
He
up the phone.
loves the end of Return of the Jedi.
Who fucking gives a shit?
That's it. That's exactly right.
Joey Noel screaming Bruce Green in the chat too.
Do you have Bruce Green's phone number, Greg?
Yeah, of course I have Bruce Green. Come on.
Give Bruce
Call
Green
him
a
up.
call.
Call them all.
Yeah,
I think he's streaming right now. Bruce Green is
He'll answer the
streaming
phone then.
with friends.
Oh, with friends, then he might not answer.
Yeah.
He'll answer.
Oh, no.
Nope.
No.
Guess not. Guess not.
I say go Rahul.
Give you one
then.
more then. You say who?
Rahul.
Okay. Anybody else?
It looks
Go
like
for
we
it.
might figure out the next episode, honestly.
Rahul's the last swing.
I'm not feeling confident right now.
And we just want to know what it means?
I want him to sing the goddamn song.
Okay.
Yub
Yep.
nub.
Yep,
Nub and my nub. Let's all yub Tim. Yub nub.
That was the lyric, I think. I think that was the lyric.
Yeah, Tim.
Rahul Kohli, it's Greg Miller. You're live on Kind of Funny in Review. How are you?
How you doing?
I'm great. We could turn to you. This is the last part of Shaun of the Dead in review. This is the last thing the listeners will hear.
Oh, it's one of my favorite films.
Great. This question has nothing to do with it. All episode long, the debate has raged. We have called separate people. No one can tell us. Can you tell us? There's two questions. They're Star Wars related. Do you know Star Wars?
A little bit.
The number one question, they're both about the same thing. All right. Number one question, what does Yub Nub mean in Ewok? And then the number two question is, can you tell us the lyrics to the Yub Nub song? Not all of them, but just enough. Like, because I started doing it and they all made fun of me because I couldn't keep up. I'm like, oh, it's nonsense. So number one, do you know what it means?
Okay, I'm going to give you an exclusive here. Live. I'm not an original trilogy kid. I'm a special edition 1997 kid.
Hang up on
So that means I don't know Yub Nub. I don't know the lyrics to the final song. I only know the na 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 na. So that's me. You just exposed me as a fraud.
Damn. That sucks. Nick's pretty pissed at you.
Greg. Thanks for putting me live and then everyone finding out I got no Star Wars cred.
I mean, you have a lot, didn't you? I mean, you don't have as much right now, but then you also remember we're old. So like the old people that remember Yub Nub, like we're gonna die.
That is true.
Yeah,
it's true. It's very true.
Yeah, but big love to the prequels. I can tell you lots of that if you want. We could do a whole podcast on prequels.
Give me the top 5 racist moments. You know what? Actually, we'll talk about this later. Thank you so much, Rahul.
No worries, Craig. Love
you, Love you too.
And that has been Edgar Wright in review. Thank you very much. Until next time.
Cameron Kennedy says Yub Nub dies with them.
Oh, that was great.